Oh, hey everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of DGweekly Live. As you can tell, we're going to be talking about the Westside Discs world. And really quickly, as we get started, before we jump into everything, I have Danny behind the scenes. So if you have any sort of questions about the world or anything like that, leave those in the comments down below so that Danny can relay those over to me and we can get those answered for you. As well, with these episodes, we like to give a 10% discount on the disc that we're talking about. So on dynamic discs right now, up until midnight Central Time tomorrow, you have a 10% discount, which is World 10, 10, the number 10, for 10% off. Very creative. And that applies to the VIP World, the Tournament Plastic World, we're going to come over here, and also the Finish Stamp Tournament Worlds. These are super, super cool. Also, these are out of production now. So what we have of these is what we will have of these forever. We will not have more of these. So if you want one, there's a few sleeves left. I wouldn't know how many that is exactly, but there are a few of the Finish Stamped Worlds left, and you can get 10% off right now with the coupon code WORLD10 on dynamicdiscs.com. Once again, if you have questions, leave them in the comments so that Danny can get those over to me. Speaking of which, Danny, do we have any questions right off the bat?
Someone says, how far can Dan, not Danny, throw the world?
Dan, not Danny, can throw the world probably over them there mountains. He throws real far.
Other than that, no.
Other than that, no. Okay, so we do have a plethora of plastics. I don't know how to say that in Finnish, but if I did, it would be sweet. Of plastics. Obviously, you already saw that we have the tournament plastic and the Finish Stamped Tournament Plastic Worlds. These are going to fly exactly the same because it's just a difference in the stamp. The VIP World, again, Danny and I were out throwing this thing this morning, and I didn't notice a difference between the VIP and the tournament plastic. It's just going to be based on preference. Whichever you like better. I think the flights are the same. There is also a Moonshine World. I did not know we even had these until today. I would expect that this is probably a little bit more overstable. It has not really a huge dome. None of the worlds really are super domey. They all seem to be pretty flat with kind of a gradual dome. If you can see that over here, it's kind of got like a, it almost is like a toned down version of the Lucidex Enforcer dome. It's kind of flat on the edges and then it kind of peaks in the middle. And then also one that I'm really excited to try out, the VIP Air World. I know a lot of people have been liking the VIP Air Ballista Pros because those are apparently a little bit more overstable than the regular Opto Ballista Pros. Or I should say the Opto Air Ballista Pro. So I'm thinking maybe if this is the same kind of situation, maybe a little bit more stability, but a little bit lighter, so maybe you can get a little bit extra distance out of these. And then the old school BT Origio with the old, not Origio, not BT Hard stamp, BT Origio stamp, Finish Stamp World. These are like super out of production. They don't run this stamp anymore. They don't run the Finish stamps anymore. Very old school looking stamp. So this would be really good. I was just telling Danny before we started, this would be a super good like water disc or water hole disc, I should say. It's a very flat top, so I would guess it's probably going to be just a hint more overstable at the beginning. But with this BT Origio plastic, it's going to beat up really quick, and you're going to get some really good flights out of it. Super grippy as well. You can probably hear that. Super, super grippy. So that's all of the plastics. Do we have any questions, Danny?
Scott Smith wants to know if it's a good forehand disc.
Scott Smith wants to know if it's a good forehand disc. I say yes. I do not have a great forehand. Unfortunately, we did have some clips of myself and Danny throwing the world this morning, but we had an issue with those importing into the live stream feed, so we're not going to be able to play those for you. But I did have some nice forehand shots for me, nice forehand shots. Danny said it feels similar to a Defender, but a little bit deeper for him, which he prefers. So yeah, I think it's a great sidearm disc, especially for someone of my skill level. It is fairly overstable. The numbers are a speed 14, glide 4, turn of a +1, and a fade of 4. The speed and the glide I think are accurate. Super fast, not super duper glidey. The positive 1 turn seems a little bit high. I would think it's kind of a 0, maybe like a positive 0.5. And then a 4 fade seems pretty accurate as well. It's a very straight flyer with a really strong fade and all of the skips in the world. This thing loves to skip. I don't know what it is about it, but when I was out there throwing them, anytime it didn't come in on just like a super spike angle, it would always just hit and then rocket like 20 or 30 feet over both backhand and sidearms. It's a super skippy disc. So if you're gonna pick one of these up using the coupon code WORLD10 to save 10% off, if you're gonna pick one up, definitely expect it to go far, and then expect it to finish really hard in whichever direction you throw it. Aim a little bit off the basket more than you're used to, because you're going to get a ton of ground action out of these things.
Matthew Wolf wants to know, what's a comparable disc to the world? Is it straight, understable, or overstable?
Matthew wants to know a comparable disc to the world, and he wants to know if it's straight, overstable, or understable. I would say it's in the overstable category, but it's a fairly straight overstable, if that makes sense. I feel like if you throw it hard and flat, it flies very straight, but once it starts to slow down, it bites, and it bites a lot. As far as comparable discs, in the hand, it feels kind of like the Ballista Pro to me. It's a very wide rim, high speed, super fast driver. I think the Ballista Pro flips a little bit more, so I think it's a little bit more overstable than that. The flight's kind of similar to that of a Defender, I would say, in that it's very straight and then has a really strong fade at the end. I think this is a little bit faster than the Defender, but the Defenders glide more for sure. So it's a very unique disc. It's almost like a longer speed fairway, or a longer distance fairway driver, and then at the end it's like, oh yeah, I'm a wide rim disc. I need to finish super hard, and then it does. And boy, does it.
Ellen wants to know, are you talking about your hair when you keep saying fade?
Was it Alan or Ellen?
Ellen.
Ellen, no. I have a feeling that would be my sister, Ellen. And no, when I'm talking about fade, this little number here, let me find one here. This little number right here, oh, of course it's finish. Round 3, obviously, that little number right there, fade 4, means it's a very overstable disc and it fades a lot at the end of its flight. So no, I'm not talking about haircuts, Ellen. I'm talking about when the disc slows down and fades out. This disc does that a lot.
Alan wants to know if it's a good roller disc.
Alan wants to know if it's a good roller disc.
Not any Alan that you...
No, not any Alan that always asks if things are good roller discs. It couldn't be him. Brand new for me, I would say no, it's too overstable. Brand new for Danny, I would say yes, absolutely. As we were out throwing it this morning, we walked up to hole 11 at Jones West, if any of you are familiar with that. It's a very straight, kind of, it's as much of a tunnel shot as we have in Emporia, and then it kind of goes uphill into a low ceiling. So roller is the play to get to the basket. And Danny, as a joke, said, I'm going to throw a roller. I asked him if he wanted me to film it, and he said, no, I don't want this to be on the internet. So I'm putting it on the internet now because it was an incredible shot. He threw it at like almost a vertical angle, and it just held that whole angle for probably 350 to 380 before it kind of tailed off and gave him like a circle's edge putt, probably inside the circle putt, that he then missed with a world. So not even good. But yeah, I think once it beats in, I think if you were to take one of these BT worlds and beat it up a lot, I think it could make a really good roller, or one of these VIP air worlds. If you wanted one of these as a roller, I think you could do it. But for me personally, it's too fast and too overstable to be a good roller disc, unless it's just you've hit all of the trees in the world. Do we have any other questions, Danny?
Somebody wants to know what bite means.
What bite means? Just like when a disc fades out, it doesn't, I don't know, it's just the way that I say it, at least. Kind of like how some people say it's really dumpy. it's very meat hooky. It's just
Angry
kind
fade.
of, yeah. Danny said it's an angry fade. Yeah, it's a very sudden. It's not like some discs like the Explorer. It has a really gradual and forward pushing fade, where this World and other things that are very overstable, like the Criminal, for example, have a very straight flight and then a really strong fade at the end. It's almost like a 90-degree flight. It doesn't want to just keep pushing forward and gradually fade out. It just goes and then just says, oh yeah, I'm going this way now, and just fades out super duper hard. And then the World likes to skip a whole bunch. So yeah, bite's just another way of saying that, how some people will say overstable or beefy or anything like that. Just an expression.
Troy wants to know how this disc would throw for a new or AM player versus a pro player.
Troy, for a newer player, this would be an extremely, extremely overstable disc. For myself, I throw like 380 to 400. It's still a very overstable disc. If I throw it hard and flat, I'm getting a long straight flight out of it. So if you're throwing like 300 feet, it's gonna start fading immediately. It's gonna be a very overstable disc for sure. Like I said earlier, similar to that of like a Defender, but a little bit less glide. So if you've had experience with the Defender, or the Enforcer is kind of similar, but not quite a one-to-one with the World. I think it would be pretty similar to that. For a pro, I could see this being a really good max distance, all-out bomber driver. For Danny, he throws a little bit harder, a little bit farther than I do, and he was getting a little bit of flip action out of it, where if he threw it on a touch of hyzer, it would stand up and go straight, where for me, if I threw it on a touch of hyzer, it's going to hold that hyzer line. So I think if you are a really powerful player, if you have more than 400 feet, I think you can get some really nice max distance lines out of one of these, and a really fast max distance line out of these for sure. Anything else, Danny?
Not right now.
Not right now. All right. If you are just joining us, we are talking about the Westside Discs World. And if you would like to save 10% on the Westside Discs World in either the tournament plastic, the VIP plastic, or the tournament plastic with the finished stamp, which we don't even run these anymore. What we have of these is what we've got. We will not have more. Use the coupon code WORLD10, 10, not spelled out, on dynamicdiscs.com, and that will save you 10% on any tournament plastic or VIP plastic World. As well, excuse me, I almost said as also, which isn't a thing. As well, I do have Danny behind the camera checking the chat and relaying questions over to me. So if you have a question about the World or anything similar to the World, what it might be most comparable to or anything like that, leave those in the comments below so that Danny can get those over to me and we can get them answered on the show for sure. And if you are watching this after the fact on YouTube, we go live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Time on the Dynamic Discs Facebook page with a new episode talking about a new disc, as well as maybe giving some away sometimes, maybe giving you discounts on stuff. So you definitely want to check it out. Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on the Dynamic Discs Facebook page. And once again, really quick, just to run through the plastics for you guys, there's also the Moonshine, kind of a glow in the dark. I would expect it to be a little bit more overstable, but I do not have much experience throwing these. The BT Origio World, which is super duper flat. Here, we'll see if we can see that on the camera, if it'll focus. Hang on, there we go. Look at that, super, super flat top on there. So I'd expect this to be decently overstable at the beginning, and because it is that BT Origio plastic, it's going to beat up pretty quick, and it's going to be a nice long distance kind of a hyzer flip shot, or maybe even if you're like Danny and you throw really far, a roller. Also, the VIP Air World. I would bet this is probably the farthest flying version of the World. If you've got the arm speed for it, these things would go 1.5 miles.
Somebody wants to know what the numbers are?
The numbers on the World is a speed 14, so very, very fast. I think aside from the couple Latitude discs that are speed 15, I think the speed 14 is like the highest out there. I think that's the highest across the board. A glide of 4, so it's not super, super glidey, which you definitely notice in the flight. It's a very fast disc. As Danny likes to say, it's a very point and shoot disc. If you saw his 3 reasons this morning on the Instagram story, You know, it's a very fast disc with not a ton of glide, so it's very point and shoot, throw it at your target, it gets there and stops. A +1 turn, so it means out of your hand it's going to start turning left. For me, I think it's closer to like a 0. I think it's a little bit straighter than that. For a slower arm speed, you're definitely going to get a positive turn. For a faster arm speed than me, you're going to get a little bit of like actual turn, maybe like a -1, and then a fade of 4, so a very strong fade at the end. You will definitely notice that for sure.
Brandon's saying, by your words, the world is flat?
Brandon, the world is not flat. The Westside Discs world has a flat top. Okay. You want to hear a joke about that? About the flat earth? No. I actually read this on the internet the other day, so you know it's good. Guy says, yeah, my friend was convinced the earth was flat, so he said he set out on an adventure and he was going to walk to the edge of the earth. In the end, he came around. Come on. That's a classic right there.
John wants to know how it is when thrown forehand.
How is it when thrown forehand? It's super good. It does have a little bit of a wide rim, which personally doesn't bother me. I know some people don't like a huge rim in their sidearm discs, but for me it's good. Mostly flat top, which is really comfortable, and it's overstable enough where it can handle some off-axis torque. It can handle a little bit of rolling your wrist if you're so inclined to do that. It can handle all of the power you can give it, but it goes. It's a very fast disc. You can still get tons and tons of distance with it. I really liked it for a sidearm. My sidearm isn't great, but the World held up to it for sure and still finished out. I was getting, I don't know, like 340 maybe out of a sidearm, which is like max distance for me. That's as far as I'm going to throw anything. And these would handle it perfectly fine, even with some wobble, some wrist action. So yeah, I think it's a great sidearm disc for sure. Do we have any more, Danny?
I don't see any more questions
No
right now.
more.
Would you compare the World to the Ape?
Would I compare the World to the Ape? It has been a minute since I've thrown the Ape. I don't think it's quite as overstable as the Ape. If I remember correctly, that is like almost Warhorse level overstable, maybe not quite, maybe like a Stiletto. And this definitely is not a Warhorse. For me, the Warhorse was just a wider rim Justice. I could throw it as hard as I wanted and immediately it was going to fight out. Where this, if I throw it hard and flat, it's going to stay straight and it's going to give me some good distance down the fairway, which I don't remember the Ape doing. I remember the Ape being just a big, monstrously overstable disc. So if you have an Ape and just want it to go farther, I think you should definitely check out the World. Use coupon code WORLD10 to save yourself 10%. And I think it would be a suitable replacement if you're just looking for that overstable, high-speed driver with a lot of skip. But if you want actual high-speed driver distance, I think the World is the way to go for sure. Any more, Danny?
No, I don't see any right now.
No more. Did you throw any of these, Danny?
I did.
You throw like grenades and stuff. Did you ever try it?
No, I didn't.
No? How do you think it would do? You're the
I think it would
grenade.
be pretty straight up and down with a little bit of a right finish on a grenade.
Okay. I don't...
Flip a little quicker on like a tomahawk, but it's good
Yeah.
because it's flat and you don't want dome on those.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys could hear that, but I was asking Danny. He's way more comfortable and way better at throwing like grenade type shots than I am. I couldn't hit the camera from here on a grenade. Danny definitely could. And he said it would be very straight up and down with a little bit of a right finish. And it's good because it does have that flat top. No, I think your name was Jordan. I'm not talking about the globe, the earth. The World, the disc is flat, man. Which is what you want for that type of shot. For overhands and tomahawks and thumbers and things like that, it's a little bit wide in the rim for me, for a thumber. I don't have huge hands, but it's a little bit too big. And then for tomahawks, it's fine. I grip a tomahawk like I would a sidearm. But I would expect a pretty quick...
Somebody wants to know if it's
one
like
of these.
an orc.
Is it like an orc? No. No, it is way faster, definitely more overstable than an orc. I used to throw those way back in the day. That's kind of more similar. If you're looking for something like that, I replaced it with the culverin. I think the culverin is really close, maybe a touch slower, but I think it's a lot more controllable. I get a lot straighter flight out of the culverin than I do with the orc. The world is definitely faster, definitely longer flying, but it does have that similar kind of straight flight with a really strong fade at the end. That's similar if you're looking for like a step up from the orc. I think the world would be great, but if you're looking to replace the orc, I would say go culverin instead of world. Do we have any more, Danny?
Katana?
Katana, the katana is super understable. The world is decently overstable. So if you're looking to replace the katana, I would say the king or the queen from Westside are going to be the most similar, where the katana you can throw it on a hyzer and it's going to flip up and ride over. The world, if you throw it on a hyzer at less than 400 feet of power, it is staying on that hyzer line. You're definitely not going to get that hyzer flip to understable flight. These are straight to overstable for sure. If you're looking to compare it to something from Innova, I would say it's like a faster destroyer, maybe like a boss, I guess. I haven't thrown those in a very long time, but that's what I would say it's most similar to from them. Any more?
I don't see any.
No, more. From Latitude, if I had to compare it to something, maybe it's like a faster, more overstable Cutlass, more overstable than the Ballista Pro. Maybe not. It's similar to like a Gladiator, maybe a touch faster than those, I would say. And then from us at DD, kind of like I said earlier, similar to that of the Defender. I think a little bit faster, a little bit less glide, and out of the box, I get a little bit more hyzer flip action out of a Defender, but not much. Neither of them are hyzer flip discs out of the box for me. But the world, if I throw it on hyzer, it's holding the hyzer, where the Defender, if I throw it on a hyzer, it's going to hold a little bit less of a hyzer line. So I think it's most similar to something like a Defender from us at Dynamic Discs. A little bit wider in the rim, I would say, and then the flatter top is going to give it a little bit less glide than we have on the Defender. If you have any questions about the world in any of these plastics, leave those in the comments below before we do sign off for this week. I do have Danny behind the camera monitoring the chat and relaying questions over to me. So if you have any questions about the world, what it's similar to, what it would be used for, leave those in there and we will get that answered for you. If you're looking to try out the world, we have 10% off coupon codes for them. Well, not codes, it's one code, and that code is WORLD10, the number 10, 10. That will get you 10% off on the tournament plastic, the finished stamp tournament plastic, which we are no longer running, and then the VIP world on dynamicdiscs.com, so you can save yourself some money and get yourself some massive distance down the fairways into some wins. If you are a more powerful player, if you throw like 400 feet and up, this is going to be such a good long distance disc. Like, I wish I had that problem where I threw really far and things like the Sheriff didn't fly well for me anymore because it just had too much hyzer flip action. Then this would be the one I would go to. Luckily for me, the Sheriff flies incredible. I can throw it on hyzer and it's going to go straight, where this world is going to stay on that hyzer line. So if you are a big power player and need just distance down the fairway, distance around the world, use a world.
How is it on a flex line?
How is it on a flex line? Super good. I really wish we had those clips available because
Good job.
it's better than that on a flex line. I did have a few shots where I would kind of throw it on a gentle anhyzer and it would hold that for a long ways and always fade out at the end. And it was never really a worry of mine that I would throw it too turned over and it would cut roll. Could just be my power or lack thereof, but I, for my own sanity, like to think that it's the disc because it does have that stability. It always is wanting to hold that straight line and then finish out. It wants to go straight, it wants to go far, and then it wants to finish out really quick. So if you are that player who just throws things way turned over or big sidearm flex shots, I think it would be really good. Like I've been saying, big max distance, long bomber shots for sure. Do we have any more, Danny?
Somebody wants you to compare the World and the Boss.
The World and the Boss, it's been years and years and years since I've thrown a Boss, but if I had to pick something from Innova that this is similar to, I would say the Boss. They're both super wide rim discs. They're both very fast discs. If I remember correctly, the Boss was kind of squirrely, where you would have to be really nose sensitive with it, where I feel like the World kind of covers those issues up for you. I think it's not as sensitive to that. I think it's a little bit more consistent, a little bit more controllable. But both are very wide rim, very fast discs that go really far in a hurry and then finish out really strong. So if you're looking to replace your Boss, I think the World is a really good upgrade from that for sure. I think you would be very happy with it.
Do they skip really good?
Do they skip really good? They exclusively skip really good. Danny and I were out throwing these things this morning, and it just, anything that didn't come in on a spike angle, anything that wasn't just hitting the ground and digging into it, was just rocketing. I mean, 20, 30 feet, it would kind of launch over and roll and get a whole bunch of ground action. It was kind of like when you're playing Mario Kart and you run over those little booster packs. It's just like this always has one on the ground and just launches. It does that noise too. It does that. So yeah, it skips really, really well. I don't know if it's just because of the shape of the rim. You can kind of see it's like a smooth, if it'll focus, it's just a smooth rim to it. It doesn't really have a big concave or convex shape to it. It's just a very smooth, straight rim, and I think that might be why it just loves that big skip, big flares at the end of its flight. Any more questions?
I don't see any.
That seems to be all of the questions, so I will wrap it up, and if there are any last-minute joiners, if you just started watching the stream, if you do have any last-minute questions, get those in, and Danny will get those over to me before we sign off. But we do have the 10% off coupon code for the World that applies to the Finish Stamp Tournament Plastic World, the regular Stamp Tournament Plastic Worlds, as well as the VIP World. That coupon code is WORLD10, the name of the disc, 10, and that is on dynamicdiscs.com from right now until midnight Central Time tomorrow. That's when that code expires. That's when you'll no longer be able to use it. So if you are watching this after the fact, after the stream has ended, you better hope that it's before midnight tomorrow. Otherwise, that code's no longer good. But we do give out a code every Wednesday at 4 p.m. I almost said 10 p.m. at 4 p.m. Central Time on the Dynamic Discs Facebook page. So if you are looking to pick some plastic up, save a few dollars, come back on Wednesday at 4 p.m. We also have the VIP Air World, a little bit lighter weights. The BT Origio World, super flat top, super, super grippy. And then the Moonshine World, it's glow golf season. If you need big distance in the night, Moonshine World. Any last minute questions that came through, Danny, or?
No serious questions.
No serious questions? Are there any good not serious questions? I just asked Danny if there were any not good. I mean, you guys heard, and his response was,
mainly from Ellen.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
We've got jokes about squirrels, jokes about digging in, jokes about biting.
Jokes about squirrels?
Because you said it was squirrely.
Oh, yeah.
So no
Squirrels.
serious questions.
All right. So it sounds like that's it. We will see you guys back on the Dynamic Discs Facebook page next week at 4 p.m. Central. Again, next Wednesday, where we will be talking about another Westside distance driver, and that's going to be on the Giant. So come back then. If you're looking for something else that's similar-ish to the World, but we'll talk about the differences then, come on back. Dynamic Discs Facebook page at 4 p.m. Central Time. Thanks for tuning in, guys.